Okay, Coach Chat 5. Peaking and tapering.
Yes.
So, we're going to go over a few things today. Firstly, what is a traditional peak in powerlifting terms?
What it is, I guess the linear kind of 5x5, 4x4, 3x3, 2x2, and then get on the platform.
Does it work?
I don't think it works in a way. Maybe years ago I had it used, but not in a long time. I'm not going to say it doesn't work. You do end up strong on the platform.
Well, yeah.
But I think the difference nowadays is we can get stronger through that peaking block rather than just express what we did in the blocks before, because we're doing more now during other blocks. So we don't have to have this like linear sort of breakdown, intensity goes up, volume goes down anymore. We can kind of keep getting stronger until we get onto the platform. There's no need to, we're writing off essentially 5 weeks worth of training if we just try and hit what we were already capable of. So I think that's where the difference is now.
Yeah, and I feel like the traditional way, like the 5x5 to 2x2, it's quite taxing the week after. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, because you haven't done much.
Yeah.
So you've essentially spent almost a whole block deloading really, because you've just dropped this volume right down to like bare minimum, just to get onto the platform. Whereas like, the way that we program now is a lot differently in the fact that we're expressing strength week to week. So why can't we just kind of roll this on a bit longer? If we're getting stronger every week, why do we have to pull so much?
Exactly, because then all that happens is you just lose a bunch of momentum.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then it takes, like you just said, 3 or 4 weeks of deloading, then you hit a 1RM, which, if you have been deloading for 3 weeks, it's fucking gonna hurt. And then, you know what I mean? Like even watching now, if, people come off the platform and go, fuck, I'm ready to train the next day. And it's been fine.
I've done that for a while now, so.
Before it's been like, oh, my erectors are just killed for a whole week after.
Yeah, my body's sore, I'm tired.
My CNS is corked.
Yeah, whereas like we are so used to that now, we've, adapted to feeling like that quite frequently, that it just doesn't feel any different. It's just another training day in front of refs and on a platform, really.
So when have you used it, like a traditional?
Oh, probably like 4 plus years ago, but not even then. Even then I've always kind of done things differently to what was the norm.
What about now, would you?
No.
Nah.
It's just not enough. Not when I see, all my athletes progressing each week, doing more than that. I have no reason to pull it down to nothing. It's just too much. Yeah,
so I think the biggest drawback of that traditional way is just that it's just a long-standing deload.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which means that momentum is lost for, when you're getting people who are super strong, losing momentum after comps is like gaining momentum after a comp is where you actually really see some great progress for some people.
Yeah, well, I think, if we're going to talk about peaking and tapering, but then what you can do after a comp, and then it's like you've established this whole new baseline because you've tapered, stepped on the platform, you've washed out a whole bunch of fatigue to get on the platform and feel fresh that day. You need to capitalize on this momentum, or not momentum, just new baseline that you've now created, which is where obviously I'm really big on just get back into training. Even though it's going to be easy, don't waste any time.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like to take a week off and live their life, but I feel like you get
so uncomfortable when you said the word life. Then live their life.
Yeah, I guess in my eyes, you kind of get to do that during a taper week where you're not doing as much.
Yeah.
Because you don't you're in the gym for maybe an hour or two opposed to sometimes 3 to 4 in a big peak when you're spending heaps of time. Like that taper week is that week where you get to kind of relax unless you're kind of water that weight.
Yeah, you didn't look too relaxed during your taper week last time.
I was relaxed training wise, but I just had a lot of other stuff going on.
So, what would you say are the major big rocks between the way that we peak people now and the way that and a traditional peak?
I guess, like going back on what I said before, is we're getting stronger through a peak now.
Yeah.
And it's not just expressing strength, because that's what we would be doing before, is when we're dropping, we're dropping volume, raising intensity before. You're just expressing strength that you've basically built on preceding blocks. But now we're at a point now where we're just trying to get stronger still throughout a peaking block.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're listening to this and you don't actually understand what we're saying with preceding blocks, go back to Coach Chat 2 about blocks and how to progress through blocks, and listen to that before you listen to this, because then you'll understand what we mean with capitalizing on previous blocks. Yeah,
just building that momentum. You're going to have tons of momentum building into a peaking block regardless anyway.
So how long would your peaking blocks usually run for?
It depends.
It depends question. Okay, for a small lifter, is there a difference between a small lifter and a large lifter with a peaking block?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so a small lifter can handle a couple more weeks.
Way higher relative intensity throughout the whole block, just in general. More volume as well. Higher intensities through their volume work as well. They recover a lot faster.
Yeah.
So we can generally push. But some of them, we might push that hard that their block length is very similar to a large person, but they are hitting much higher intensities. So
so you got your 8s and your 9s throughout that block, throughout the whole block.
Whereas like a larger person, RP7 might be enough for them to build up the amount of fatigue that we're trying to chase.
How do you manipulate when we're talking about a peaking block? What are the major things that you manipulate through that peaking block?
Volume, intensity, and just the layout of how everything is. I guess I've spoken about heaps of times, but I'm big on making things try and land on specific days, especially full bench. But how I do it, and then we're not just increasing intensity and dropping volume anymore. We can increase volume and intensity together simultaneously. Because we need a point to taper from. Our supercompensation ain't going to do this magic trick that everyone thinks it's going to do, and you're going to feel phenomenal on the platform if all you've done is just reduce your volume and increase the intensity the whole time. That you've really established nowhere to kind of taper from. All you've done is just lifted more weight.
So you just knocked a big thing on the head that I've been playing with and doing since I've learned a lot from you, which is increasing volume and intensity at the same time during the peak. Do you want to give a little bit of an example of what that might look like?
So I guess it's, if you look at someone and they progress quite well on like their minimum kind of volume that they're running is maybe 8 to 10 sets of squats per week. And on their main day, they're doing 3 sets or something. By the time we get to 3 weeks out, you could be running that session at double the amount, almost doing 6 sets of squats. Just to keep ramping. As I said, we need somewhere to be able to pull back from. So if we're like pushing the amount of volume that they can recover from, that's where you're going to get a point to be able to pull back from. It's not just this this straight line kind of thing, which is the same the whole time. Because all you're doing is another block. Why is it called a peaking block then?
Exactly. So I think that's a major difference between the way that we do it and the traditional ways. It's just another block of training, but you're just causing more fatigue. Exactly. So how do you determine how much extra volume you would give this person? Do you just trial something and then let's just say you've got a small female and they're coming in to 2 to 3 weeks out and you want to add extra volume. So will you just go, okay, so this block going into this comp, I'll try with 3 extra sets and see how they go?
I generally build so a peaking block is where I'll make changes week to week.
Yeah.
And see how they're responding. See if their main days we're still getting stronger, or we're not getting stronger, we're still being able to express more strength.
Yep, and recover.
So if this top end number just keeps going up, you know, potentially we can just add a little bit more to build this fatigue, so we do have somewhere to taper from.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, this is where I'm going at the moment. Where I think we're going to talk about, like where I'm thinking at the moment is, can I just leave this volume or intensity that they're doing in the middle of a block and then not taper, and then just kind of run it into the meet, run that exact same week, the taper week. Like, you know, we're going to have to taper something back. We're going to have to taper accessories, maybe a set or two of their main lifts. But is this all we need to pull back if they're showing up week to week? Do we need to have this week that's bare minimum for someone to be able to show up on the platform, potentially feel detrained, potentially not feel that good with a barbell on their back or in their hands, if in a taper we pull back so significantly?
Yeah, I think what you're thinking makes total sense to me, and especially when it comes to big boys or people who lift a lot like you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like the traditional, like, or stripping so much back, if you were to have 300 kilos or 290 kilos on your back and then go 2 weeks without doing it again, would you feel weird about putting it on your back? Like, I know you wouldn't, but like, could you relate to other people going, fuck, I haven't put this weight on my back in 2 weeks?
I would myself.
You would?
Yeah, 100%.
That makes total sense to me.
It's like, so...
You see an S to be like, ugh.
Yeah, it's not just that, but it's like getting someone to run a whole block, and you know they're hitting a single each week, okay, and the single gets bigger and bigger each week, and by the end of the block, you know, they're hitting 300 kilos. Ask them to deload and then like take a hot, like nearly a week off, or pull everything back, and then hit 300 kilos like the week after. Like,
yeah, exactly. So there's that train of thought, and another train of thought that I've kind of trialed as well is making the last heavy day very close to, and this is only with a small female, super close to like 6 days out. And that's what I trialed last block with Meg, and I'm going to do it again and see if it works again. And I guess that's kind of the same premise of not having, like, her taper was sharp, but there was still weight on the taper, you know what I mean? It wasn't deloaded heaps.
Yeah, well, this is where we don't have to pull from intensity so much.
Yeah.
We can just pull back from volume because it's just going to recover.
Yeah.
Females tend to recover from
so quickly.
You know, more intensity. It's the volume that can sometimes have more of this bleeding effect because they have to do so much work.
Yeah.
So you just, you know, can still run that top single or something 6 days out, but then just, you know, half the volume maybe.
Half the volume, keep the intensity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've trialled this thought before, obviously with yourself, and you've trialled it with other athletes. How's it been going?
Good, very good. Obviously show up well on the platform. Myself, I walked into it, wasn't planned or anything. But I think, like I've told you, it's the strongest I've ever felt on the platform. So that's where my thought kind of went that way, is because I could actually feel the difference.
Yeah.
I've gone onto the platform and not felt bad. I felt fresh. I felt strong, but I haven't felt comfortable under a barbell quite a few times.
You felt more comfortable?
Just recently?
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like I was ready. Everything just felt natural. I put a bar on my back and was like, fuck, I could run through a wall right now. And that was just a barbell.
Are you excited to trial it again for states? To see if it actually, this actually is going to work?
100%. Mainly because last time we only walked into it or had to do it because I was injured. It wasn't anything that was planned. We would have just ran the normal peak that we usually run, which we know has me strong on the day. But not to the extent that I felt at Effectus. Like, that was absurd. I never felt like that in my whole life.
The only hard thing about the way that we're thinking about peaking at the moment is you would have to know how to control the variables week to week and in the whole block.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You get what I mean? You have to really know when to change things earlier in the blocks.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is too that taper week is how much you take out. Like I took one set of squats out that whole week.
Yeah.
I benched 5 days and competed on the 6th.
Yeah.
I obviously pulled back a little bit.
Yeah.
I still did,
Yeah.
relatively hard. Like my middle squat day was not easy.
No.
Like everything was still the same.
Yeah. So I guess that's like the major thing if listeners are thinking about like what we're talking about right now with not actually running a traditional-ish peaking block, that running your whole block right through to the comp is that you'd have to really know your lifter.
Yes, you'd have to really know
them to know that they can like recover from X amount or take X amount out, and that will lead to that.
Just comes to paying attention though, as a coach.
Oh, big time.
I know people that can hit a single 1 week and then next week it's down by 15, 20 kilos. But then the week after, because they've had to pull back, but they're super honest with the way that they train, it's just going to be back to where it was again, so they're fine. But potentially sometimes even stronger than they were the 2 weeks before. So this could be someone where, I pull this, hit this big single 2 weeks out, and then we do taper aggressively, and then they're going to show up. That just comes down to paying attention and knowing what they're capable of, and just noticing the trends in their training and what happens when they do hit heavy things.
Yeah. What happens if like and this is where I'm thinking a little bit, what happens if their squat and their deadlift peak in really different ways?
Everyone's does.
Yeah, so you would just have to know when to pull one back and push the other. Yeah,
so generally wouldn't push a deadlift too hard in a taper week. Like you're not going to do anything really.
Yeah.
It's just too fatiguing, too much on the system. But it's finding the right amount of days before a competition, whether that be, a week, 10 days, maybe less, maybe more. It just depends on how long they need.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the biggest things to remember too is you don't get it right the first go. No. You're going to fuck it up first, or you're going to do something wrong, or, and to actually reflect on and go, okay, I need to change that for next time. So like if you've got a lifter and they look like they keep going into their comps undercooked, push them a bit harder and see how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. I think a big thing too for me is trying things a little bit early. So if I know someone's going to be competing on a Saturday, but they need 9 days to taper their deadlift.
Taper it.
Yeah, just see what happens if you don't deadlift 1 week and deadlift them on the Saturday 1 week, and then the week 2 weeks before that it's on the Wednesday. See if it shows up. See if they're strong.
Yeah.
It's not going to change their training too much, especially if they're 6-7 weeks out. You can always just run it back.
Yeah, definitely. So what differences would you do? I know we went over that a little bit, but just before. But what differences would you do for like a large male to a small male when it comes to peaking in general?
A small male's going to be handled heaps. A lot more. Way more both. Mainly intensity, sometimes not so much volume.
Yeah.
They don't need to push volume as much.
More intensity.
Yeah, because they respond well to it.
Yep.
They still recover from it. Generally not much goes wrong.
Yeah. Do you find any differences with the larger females and the smaller females as well? Is it the same premise?
Same, yeah, it's the same. Generally it's just smaller people can handle more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not too much difference, like in terms of sex or anything. It's just
size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smaller people can just handle more. We have less muscle. Our recoverability is just a lot higher.
And other than like getting stronger, because that's the end game, what are some other variables that we might look at to know that this peak has worked?
How they feel on the day is a big thing. The funny thing is that I've noticed is if you ask an athlete how they feel on a day, they're always going to say, yeah, good. Because they're nervous.
Yeah.
Just look at the way that they're moving compared to training. Unless you've got someone that's hyper aware of the way that they feel and the way that they move, they're just going to turn around and say, yeah, good.
Yeah, feel good. Yeah, feel good.
And sometimes that can be really hard to pick numbers for them. So but that's where generally on competition day we open a bit lighter and see how it is actually moving.
Yeah, if it's smacked out the park or whatever, and then if it's not, then the second attempt would be a little bit less or whatever.
Yeah, like I still look back now at my opening squat from Effectus, and I'm like, I've still not moved that weight that fast.
Yeah, that was a big jump that you did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it worked. It's just different because I know the blocks that you ran before. Remember when you were really hitting the squats heavy, and then you got injured and you couldn't squat heavy for a while, and then had that performance. Has that kind of skewed your thoughts a little bit in terms of how much you actually do need to do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's where my brain's kind of a bit up in air at the moment about what I'm thinking about it, because we do generally push a lot. It's both intensity and volume, but I could still get away with doing enough.
Yeah.
To an extent. I know there were some days where I couldn't do anything, but I could get away with doing enough throughout the week to just hold on to my strength. But in the end, I ended up being the strongest I've ever been on a specific day.
Does that mean, so is it going through your mind, does that mean you need to submax everything?
Yeah, well, I guess so, in a way. But that's going to be hard because...
Mentally?
Mentally, yeah, because I like to push it really hard, but when I'm injured, I can't. When I'm fresh, I'll do anything.
Yeah. Just interesting thoughts, isn't it? Because I know, an interesting thought is people when they do get injured or niggles about, the 11, 12, 8-week mark out, a lot of people would pack up and go home and be like, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
It's a great example of you actually can still perform in this sport while you're, only able to perform submax loads.
Yeah, the other thing too is you're never going to change too much about what happens on the platform in your training. As long as you're doing the work, you're going to end up where you're going to end up. You can't change anything just by putting more load on the bar 1 week. If anything, it can be detrimental to your performance.
To put more load on?
In training, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
For myself, I'm very big on I want to hit something kind of before I get on the platform, just so I get on the platform and there's nothing that's going through my head about a load I've never hit or anything like that. I just hit it and I'm good to go. Yeah,
definitely. I feel like we've answered a bit, but I feel like we haven't really, because we haven't given away a formula on how to actually peak someone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just such a massive it depends. But do we have any big rocks other than you can just get it right through the block and keep going with someone and see if that works?
Yeah, that's a big thing. So to realise if a block has been successful in general is, we're lifting more load by the end of the block. Okay, we built momentum, we're lifting more load by the end of the block. Okay, so this is the things that we need to think about when we do write someone a peaking block, or when we do begin to peaking someone. So if we can, hold on to the knowledge that you have from preceding blocks, it should be easy to write a peak. You should know how someone's going to respond. You should almost have an idea of what you're going to do before you even get, 6-7 weeks out.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be this completely different block or something you've never done before, because like you're going to the one thing that we're trying to achieve, and that's to get to the platform to put on a performance. So if you're going and writing a peaking blog that's completely fucking different to every other kind of mesocycle you've written for a specific person, then yeah, good luck. They're potentially not going to show up. You're just creating variables. You're creating so many different things that are going to, you know, play a role in how they're going to perform. Whereas you have the formula already. Just grab the things from the other blocks that work.
So this is where it gets a bit tricky for people who need to deadlift 10 days apart for the last 4 weeks of their block. Or I might have that premise that this has worked for this person before, so I need to do it again.
Yeah.
So this is where I'd be like, let's not do it and see if it works.
Yeah, so the way that you kind of, so you'd figure out what day they're competing on.
Yep.
That's one of my biggest things, is when someone can tell me the exact day that they're competing on, it makes it so much easier for me to lay out a block that I'm going to pick that through. Because if I know, or if you know that they need 10 days to, I guess, taper from their deadlift, then you know which day to write that deadlift on, and just run it that same day the whole way. And you know you've already sorted out when their last one's going to be. It's going to be, you know, if they need 10 days, it'll be, what's that, a Wednesday if they're competing on a Saturday or something.
Yeah.
You can just know, okay, they're going to deadlift every Wednesday until, you know, that week and a half out, and then we take from there.
Yeah,
they may run one more extremely light deadlift session the Monday or something, just to keep moving and go through the movement, but that's it. You already know that they need 10 days, so
yeah,
it's already there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess the biggest rock to know about peaking is the whole premise of decreasing volume and increasing intensity doesn't really fly anymore if you know what you're doing from block to block.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, go back to the block, how to progress from block to block. Don't change anything with your lifter. If anything, you feel like they're going into the end of the block and they haven't created enough fatigue, add more volume and see what happens. That's it. Yeah,
if you want to taper someone and have this, you know, super compensation effect where they, you know, perform really well, feel super strong on the day and everything feels great, you need to give them a place to super compensate from.
Yeah.
And it can't be just, you know, from doing it 2 by 2 a week out. That's just not enough.
I've done it with people.
Yeah.
I think they had one good comp and that was it.
Yeah, it's just...
Novices?
Yeah, well, novices will respond to anything.
Yeah. What are some markers that you will use with your athletes to see if you've created enough fatigue?
Oh, it's going to be how they're feeling. I've got people that start to get really fucking agitated towards like, the end of a peak, like myself.
Yeah.
They start to get agitated, you know, like small things are annoying them.
Yep.
Sleep can be a little bit off.
Sleep is a big one, yeah.
Yeah, nutrition can start to dial off. They just start to complain.
Go off for the fairies.
Yeah.
Read programs wrong, stuff like that.
Yeah, you're meant to feel this way.
Do you educate your guys on it's normal to feel this way? Because a lot of people don't like feeling tired. Like a lot of people feel like they need to feel good at training all the time, and if it's been a big day and they don't want to finish their session, that they should just pack up and go home.
Yeah, a lot of them will let me know. Like they're like, I feel tired. I'm big on just like asking someone to like, how do you feel?
How do you feel?
And if they let me know, I've had like. I've been like, how do you feel? And I'll just open up a whole can of worms. Okay. Oh, well, this is exactly how you're supposed to feel, so that's good.
And they're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Is it going to go away?
yeah, it will. You're going to feel good.
So, how do you base your like, what's a taper?
That I think is the biggest.
It's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
That is really hard.
Because everyone is so individual in the way that you're going to taper them, and how much they need that week of, how they're responding each week before a competition as well. So if you've got someone that's squatting heavy, you know, every single Friday or Saturday,
Yeah.
this number just keeps going up no matter what you add into their training, to that microcycle each week. You're just adding more and more, okay? But they keep lifting more and more on the day that you want them to lift more.
Yeah.
This is where you really need to sit down and think critically about how much you need to pull back from the table. Because I do believe that you do need to pull stuff back the week of competition for sure.
Yeah.
You just need to figure out how much.
And you don't know until you know your lifter.
Yeah, and a lot of the times it can be too much. You can pull back too much, and you know they will feel fresh on the platform. But there's a big difference between feeling fresh and feeling like you could run through a wall.
Yeah.
Because you can feel fresh, your body can feel fine, all the little niggles from the prep can be gone. But until you put a barbell on your back, you won't know.
Exactly.
So that's where we've got to think, okay, if I've got this person that usually runs their baseline at maybe, let's say they squat Monday and Friday, they usually run their baseline at 3 sets of squats, okay? And then we're at the 2 weeks out, they're running 5 sets of squats or 6 sets of squats on that
3
that
sets,
Monday.
up to 5 sets.
Yeah.
Yep.
Throughout the last four or so weeks of their peak, you've bumped it right up to there.
Yeah.
You've done more on the Friday, so they're essentially doing so much more throughout the week. Maybe just go back to that baseline of 3 sets on the Monday.
Yeah. Hang on, how many weeks did you say you put it up to 5 sets?
Over like the last, 3 to 4 weeks.
So you did 3 weeks of 5 sets.
No, it's slowly ramped up to that.
Gotcha. So.
And they've just gotten stronger on their last day.
Gotcha. So like, let's just say it's 5 weeks out. First week's 3 sets 3, second week's 3 sets 3, 3 sets 4, 3 sets of 5,
Then we
maybe
start
3
on 4.
sets of 6, hey?
Then we start going 4 sets.
4, and then so you're going like that.
Yeah. And then, they've just gotten stronger the whole time, so you know what you're adding in's working. Well, you wouldn't say they've gotten stronger, they've just still been able to lift more on the Friday because you've increased the intensity throughout their program.
Yeah.
But they've still been able to show up.
Yeah.
So you don't need to strip it down to like a 2x2 on a Monday or fuckle on Monday or something. You can still do, if someone's responding to 6s throughout a whole block, you can still do the 3x6 that they were doing before you started ramping the volume.
From where they were at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't need to do nothing.
No, not at all. And that's probably a good amount for them. If that's where they usually will respond,
Yeah.
that's enough for them.
Yeah, exactly. And then again, that comes back to size as well,
Yeah.
with how much you would give them. So I guess the biggest thing for tapering is to see how much volume you gave them,
Yeah.
and then taper some from that, not everything.
Yeah, not everything. Someone needs to 100% move in a taper week. If you're still running taper weeks where you just take a week off, like, you need to get on the internet.
CNS would be fucked.
Yeah, you just need to, like, it's not,
You
we're
go
not
to
doing that
sleep.
anymore. Yeah. You cannot feel good. I don't know how people do it. Unless you have an abundance of drugs in your system.
I was going to say, you had an abundance of testosterone in your system.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different though. That's a whole new ball game. So in terms of fatigue through the taper, let's just say lifter's done their last day on the Saturday, they hit an RP9, and they're gonna be in the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday the next week for their comp, right? Or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever you decide. Are you asking them every day, how do you feel?
Of that taper week?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Or you'll ask them like 2 days out, how do you feel?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
sometimes I
wait.
ask people that
Just feel shit.
they feel shit the whole time.
way.
Like, and then once you start asking them, they think that you're worried.
Yeah. So you wait. It's normal to feel shit through your taper week.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, that's another thing.
If you start feeling great on the Monday and you're going to compete on the Saturday,
You are cooked.
yeah, that's probably not a good thing.
Yeah, not cooked. You're not cooked enough. That's the
Yeah.
problem. What's the least amount you've ever given someone in a taper? Like,
like when I've had to be super aggressive because they're generally just like
everything.
full sets, aren't they? Like I've made them take more than a day's rest, and generally just done like on the first day like one single and like one back down double or something. Which is but they've showed up because I knew I had to be super aggressive because like they were fucked. You know, everything was slow. Like I don't just mean like the top set was slow on that last session, like every single set.
Oh, so the whole session was grinding.
Yeah. So
Why did they do that?
I just wanted to know I was there, man.
Was it there on the day?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's good then.
But like, that's obviously someone that, you know, I apologise. Then they start stressing really bad. Have I fucked this whole thing up? So nah, we're just gonna have to be really aggressive now.
It was those New South Wales boys, wasn't it?
Nah.
I'm kidding around because I know they're gonna be watching.
No. It was actually a long time ago anyway.
Oh yeah. But you live and you learn.
Exactly right.
You know, it's not like if you don't do that, then you don't know what full send means. You know what I mean? And that's on the other end of the, you know, sandbagging or not pushing hard enough. It's just finding that happy medium of what's what, you know?
I mean, it's not the end of the day if someone overshoots a week or two out. Like, you know, we do want to show what you're capable of on the platform, but as a coach, we can I guess, be able to sort that out just by programming things and being more aggressive in a taper, or not as aggressive if they were to take things a bit easier because they were too fatigued 2 weeks out, so they got to, you know, a week out where we want to go a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But they've accumulated too much fatigue too early.
Yeah.
You know, then you just, you know, we won't go as aggressive in that taper week.
Exactly. So I guess let's go over the differences really quickly. Well, this won't be a quick question, but let's go over the differences with peaking and tapering each lift. So we'll start with squat. So what are some big rocks of peaking your squat and tapering your squat?
So peaking the squat, like we can push it.
Yeah.
Push intensity and volume together.
Yeah.
Generally throughout each day that they lift.
Yeah.
Unless it's someone that squats 3 times, I generally won't touch like a middle day. Just leave that.
Leave that. That gets the cat down or whatever.
Yeah, but the other 2, I'll push it.
Yeah.
You know, I've had someone 2 weeks out do like 7 sets of 4 or something, and respond really well on one of their days, and then on the other day they hit their single and their even more heavier stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been able to push that to quite a few people before.
Yep.
And then tapering, you just, you know, like I said earlier, just go back to what you know that their baseline is.
I guess so. What we were saying before about adding volume, we are talking about adding volume to the squat.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously the easiest one to add volume to.
Yeah.
To create fatigue, because the deadlift is so individualized.
Yeah, and the other thing too is just squats generally going to accumulate some fatigue in the deadlift as well. Exactly. So if you're pushing, you can push a little bit of deadlift volume, but I'm more on, you know, pushing deadlift kind of intensity a bit more and not doing as much, because the squat's just going to be able to bleed into that and have the fatigue carryover that you need to be able to pull back from.
Exactly. So what about bench?
Bench is really specific. Like I said, my bench won't change throughout the week.
No.
I just take it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And that's literally it. Because I'm benching every single week. I'm benching on the day that I compete. No matter what day I'm going to compete, I'm going to be benching on that day. It's going to be my heaviest day of the week, and I've already figured out through a microcycle how to make that happen. How to make my bench be the strongest on the day that I compete.
Yeah.
So I have nothing to change. I might drop intensity down a little bit on my other heavier days. Other than that, nothing. Volume stays the same. Everything stays the same.
Your bench is very individualized though.
I do this with so many athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the same, show up on the same day, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then I won't touch it.
No, I just meant with how much intensity you can handle. It's very individualized.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like
Red.
Red. Are you still hitting 43 sets a week?
Bit less at the moment.
A bit less, yeah. That's fucked, 43 sets a week. That's a lot of bench, man.
Yeah. Quite a bit, yeah.
But you would never really increase the volume of bench trying to create fatigue in a peak.
No, this is where we can start to play with intensity a bit more.
Yeah,
through
increase
back down work.
intensity and stuff, yeah. For people that might need a little bit heavier back down work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deadlift, picking. Well, we said.
Yeah, I already said that. Your squat's going to carry over into the fatigue that we're going to build in the deadlift. Push intensity a bit more. Keep it on that one day if there's someone that just deadlifts once.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be completely different if someone does deadlift twice as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're obviously going to have their main day, which is the day that you're going to take it from, and then they're going to have the other day, which so if we go to 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out generally the heaviest week.
Yep.
If myself, if my heaviest deadlift day is on a Wednesday, but I also deadlift on a Friday, I'm going to have to take that Friday a week out from competition easier than I would any other week.
Yeah.
Because I'm tapering now from the Wednesday.
Yeah. Yep. That's good. And what about tapering the 3 lifts differently? So obviously deadlift, you probably hit some singles, that's about it.
Yeah, we don't do much.
No.
You just need to move, really, in a deadlift. Squat's going to be quite individual too in terms of what days they're squatting. So if you've got someone that's squatting, let's say they're squatting Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and they're competing on Sunday, and you've always had them strong on a Sunday, then you're probably going to just want to squat Tuesday and Thursday, drop it down a little bit, and then they should be fine on the Sunday like they have been every other week leading up to a competition.
Exactly. Okay, well, I don't really think we've got too much more to go through, really. I feel like, those listening might go, okay, well, what do I do? But I think the biggest rock to take away is if you've run a block or with yourself or your lifter and it's been phenomenal, run it again.
Yeah.
And then again, and then add a little bit more fatigue to the end of it and test and see if it works.
Yeah, 100%.
There's your peak.
That's it. Don't overcomplicate a peak.
Nah. Oh, one thing, we didn't go through accessories. A little bit. To take away if you need it. If you don't take it away.
I generally don't touch them much. We might just drop a little bit, like a set or two here and there.
Yeah.
But you don't have, why do you have to as well?
Especially if you know that you or yourself or you lift to sandbag your accessories.
Yeah. I think the biggest
they're
thing...
actually going to help.
If you're going to take something away in a peak, just ask yourself why you're taking it away.
Yeah. What's it going to do?
If they're responding each week and they're getting, doing well each week and there's more load on the bar, just ask yourself why you're taking something away.
Yeah. Is this actually going to create any results or, especially if I think also too, a lot of people like spending time in the gym. So if you take away a lot and they don't get that time, it can really mess with people's how they feel.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Okay, but I guess that's us for today.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.